So we're exploring something incomprehensible, totally incomprehensible. This message or communication is just completely, it's boundless. It's about boundlessness. So what is suggested is that boundlessness is without any limitation, without any conditions whatsoever. It appears to be conditioned, but that's an appearance. So all there is apparently what's appearing to be. And by being appearances, it's insubstantial. It's not absolutely real. It's not absolutely unreal either. It's simply appearing. So appearing as sensation, appearing as sights, sounds, smells, tastes, feelings, emotions, thoughts, ideas, memories, beliefs. Beliefs and opinions come a little bit in towards the dream part, but really there is just simply the immediacy, absolute immediacy and spontaneity. It's total spontaneity. And being limitless, being boundless, being unconditional, being totally radical and alive, it's not going anywhere. It's not coming from anywhere either. It's not coming from, it's not going to, it's just simply what is. Not yet, not yet. And being boundless, being unconditional, being free, being limitless, what can seem to also appear is contraction. So boundless energy can appear as contracted energy. Limitless energy can appear as limited energy. Infinite can appear as finite. Absolute appears as relative. So this is when everything seems to become personal and individualized. So what seems to happen is an energy in the so-called human experience, the human experience of contracted energy, and then there seems to be a separation. So when this contracted energy appears, it's felt as a subject, and it's felt as a position. So the position is like creating a sense of space. So it's here, there's apparent contracted energy, and it feels localized, it feels to be here in space, and by taking a position, there simultaneously seems to exist. So here and there. And what seems to also happen is thoughts and ideas and memories pop up. And so there's now a sense of now. There's a sense of now and then. So this is the appearance of duality. So out of non-duality appears duality. Here and there, now and then, subject, object. And that's all completely free and boundless, but what seems to come along with that is a sense of dis-ease, a sense of dissatisfaction. So this dissatisfaction seems to be felt somehow for the human, which is now feeling itself to be a real, localized, individual human being with free will and choice. So now it feels like it's a separate individual from everything else it's seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, but it also feels separate from what it's thinking and feeling as well. So even thoughts and feelings are perceptions that are at a distance from me. And this dissatisfaction is felt as some kind of energetic agitation, it seems. And by feeling sort of agitated, what starts to happen is seeking. So it's as though it feels like something's lost. Like something is lost, and so I need to go looking for it. I need to go looking for that which I have lost. It also seems to feel incomplete, so it goes looking to be complete or to feel complete. It feels separate, so it looks to be whole again. It looks for wholeness. And rather sad news for that apparent contracted energy is that what it's actually looking for is already what is. So everything that's appearing is already wholeness. It's already complete and fulfilled. It's already everything. It's already boundless. Already, because it's timeless. Time is a limitation that this boundlessness seems to take on. So it seems to take on this sense of everything is limited by time, space, consciousness, and experience. Space and time, all that. It seems to be limited by all of these apparent conditions. And it goes looking, and it goes looking, as probably many of us are knowing about. It's like it goes looking for all sorts of things. It goes looking for wholeness within substances and drugs and other people. It looks for completion within a partner or a friend or a group of friends, a community. It goes looking for wholeness within religion and spirituality as well. It goes in any which direction to find this sense of completion, because what seems to have happened there is a sense that if I move steadily on a path in a direction, then I'll get closer and closer to my true nature, or towards enlightenment, liberation, or something else, the kingdom of God. And this non-duality is simply pointing out, it's exposing that all there is wholeness. It doesn't seem, the contracted energy doesn't seem to resonate with that, because it feels separate from an apparent whole. So it feels cut off and lacking and incomplete and spatial. But somehow or other, through illuminating this and exposing this, for some kind of energy can seem to come about, so can seem to be revealed. And if that was to apparently happen, because it can only really apparently happen, this sort of obviousness, this abundance can be sort of felt, for want of a better word. It's sort of like ringing true. Like, of course, this, what is happening is totally beyond time and space. This, what I long for, ultimate freedom, the infinite, it can't be limited by a destination. It doesn't live at a destination from here and now. It doesn't live in the future. It's all encompassing. So there's no path to get there, because there is no there. There is just what is. An idea of there is this as well. So this is beyond direction. It's beyond sort of a process or going somewhere. And therefore it's without teaching. It's without prescription. It's not telling anyone what to do, and it's not telling anyone what not to do. It's just simply pointing out what is already. And so that comes without any sort of agenda or meaning or teaching, because it's simply what is. And for some, that can seem to just become more obvious and abundantly the case. But it's not a sense of someone having that as an objective experience. It's actually the end of a felt sense of an objectified reality, an artificial reality, which is an illusion. It's an illusion of boundless, free energy. So there's no process, and there's no need for anything to happen. There's no need for anyone to get this, or to totally fall away or collapse or become enlightened. There's just what is, and anything that apparently happens, which is only apparent because everything is just simply an appearance, is unconditionally free to be what it is. If a housemate stroke flatmate is messy, can blame still happen even though there is no one to blame? So there can be anger, of course. There might be like an apparent coming home and then
and then seeing a mess and, sort of anger. So that, an anger might happen and a confrontation might happen and all the rest of it. But it's obvious that there's no one, that's choosing to make a mess or not make a mess. And there's no one choosing to confront or not confront either. There's no relating anymore, which can't be comprehended. There's no relating to another person who apparently made a mess. There's just an apparent mess, an apparent response. Could you describe how this apparently unfolded for that body? It didn't happen. It's simply a revealing of what is already. So it wasn't really a process. When there's a sense of me having an experience and then hearing about contracted energy and emptiness and all the rest of it, there seems to be a bit of a process. There seems to be a dance because time is still felt as real. So time is still felt as real, and therefore it feels like there's a process of me falling away or a process of enlightenment, but it's not really like that. It's sort of like the end of a process, but even that's too much. But yes, going to meetings and listening to people and, and then having a chat with Tony and that, it's like there was an apparent unravelling seeming to happen, which was out of anyone's control. But a resonance would seem to be felt, almost like the contracted energy was wobbling. There's some reluctance to go more into that, because what tends to happen when someone hears that, who's looking for liberation, fulfillment, or even enlightenment, feels like, oh, maybe I can have that, maybe I can resonate with this so-called message. But that's hope-driven, and it seemingly keeps that little contraction going. Could you talk about the unfolding affecting the body-mind? For example, how did it affect suffering, such as fear, shame, self-consciousness? Yeah, so fear is an appearance like any other, sadness and anger too, joy, laughter. These things, appear regardless of if there's a sense of someone claiming that or not. But shame and remorse, self-doubt, those things don't tend to come back at all, because it's all about me and my experience and my relating to my body, my mind, my thoughts, my everything. There's no longer that claiming. This shame and all of those other things, self-doubt, seem to be very sort of self-orientated experiences. Is knowledge just stories? Not necessarily. Knowledge is an experience of separation. So in order for there to be apparent knowledge, there has to be an apparent knower, and an apparent known is subject and object, which requires a distance and two-ness. So I am knowing that I am sitting on a chair, or I am knowing that I'm having this conversation with you. When that whole sort of collapse apparently happens, it's just chair, just conversation. There's no longer a sense of distance between anything. Stories too could be another thing that is known. I am knowing the story that I'm telling myself. When that whole thing apparently collapses, stories don't seem to come along anymore. There may be thoughts, obviously, ideas and that. There's no time. Is there a certainty over the absolute nature of reality? So there is kind of a clarity that can seem to be, but it's not about reality, because there isn't one. There's no reality. There's the appearance of a reality, but it's real and unreal simultaneously. It's not simultaneous even, it's not even timed, but it's just... everything just kind of collapses into the immediate thisness. Totally spontaneous, organic, wild and free, but there's no one knowing that. However, it's obvious. It's sort of obvious, but it's not known. It's not an obviousness that is known, which can't really be comprehended. This is not about comprehension. Couldn't the appearance of subject-object be just as much an appearance as there not being subject-object? Could this be revelation not just be another subtle appearance? It's got nothing to do with someone knowing that or not knowing that. It's the end of the dream of the felt sense of being a person trying to figure all of this out. And this sort of utterance, although it's, you know, been hearing this from Tony and Jim and others, it's like, yes, this is coming out with a certain language and everything, but beyond that, it's just total nothing. It's just nothing. It's just coming out of nothing. It is nothing. Can dissolving beliefs connected to a separate individual support the death of me? So there is no process. There is no process to the apparent dissolution. What sounds like is happening there is a presumption that there is someone who has free will and choice who can decide to unravel all of the beliefs. What actually happens is beyond the sense of an individual choosing to unravel. The whole sort of sense that I am in control is actually attention in disguise. You okay? A lot of questions going through. Do I still listen to other non-duality speakers such as Jim? So occasionally when a new video has come out by Jim or Tony, it might be watched. It's not done for someone, it's not someone watching it, it's just, the video goes on because it's fun to listen to, but it's not like that'll make this any better or worse. It's just, sort of enjoying. Why can't there be a process of dissolution? If this illusion is attention and the body-mind, it seems reasonable that this brain can do things to unravel it. So yes, the brain and the nervous system and the body seem to make decisions. So the decision to have hot chocolate instead of a chai latte happened. The illusion is that it was felt as though someone made that choice to have one or the other. It just happened. It just apparently happened. What can be said for this is that because there is no real time, there is just the total immediate spontaneity of what is. This isn't really about a process. It's not I've said this before, but it's not, apparently. It's not really a process, it's not really the end of a process, it's the end of feeling and sensing that there ever was a process. So all the time that there's an apparent sense of someone having an experience, everything seems to be going somewhere, moving in a direction towards something better, moving in a direction towards freedom or wholeness or integration or whatever else the story's conjured up. When that whole thing seems to collapse, it's revealed that by everything already being whole and boundless and beyond time and space, it doesn't need to go anywhere. It doesn't need to be feeling like it's needing to be better than it is. So even anger and sadness and pain is sort of as whole as laughter, play and dance. There's no resistance and there's no time sense in that. Memories still appear, but that's got nothing to do with time. When the whole contracted energy is seemingly in place, everything feels like it's timed, moving on a linear path, past, present, future, going in a direction. I always want something better, and always want something to happen, or need something to happen. It's constantly seemingly agitated and dissatisfied with what is, so it continuously longs for what could be. It seems to live in what will be. It's not saying that's wrong or bad, it's just sort of pointed out that's the sort of the story, this illusory nature of the story is seeming to live in. But it's not bad or wrong, it's just what also is appearing to happen. Was the revolution mind-blowing? It sounds effing awesome. It seems like it's not a big deal as you speak of it. Yeah, so, what the glimpses and that, when there's, this sort of obliteration, it can be like, wow! It can be wow, like full-on explosive and joyous, but like anything else, apparently the body just gets used to this whatever is. So it can be like a wow, like an incredible joyous wow, and then the wow just apparently gets a bit more sort of simple. I mean, it is simple, it's so simple. Yeah, because obviously it's like apparently unsustainable to be constantly, energetically aroused in sort of sensation and everything. What were you doing when it was realised? So it wasn't like a click moment. It wasn't like that. There can never really be a moment when it was said that this is when I was, and then on the other side I wasn't. It wasn't like that. There were apparent flashes and whatnot else, glimpses if you want to call it that. But it was more like just a sort of a gradual, apparently gradual unraveling. Is this the cure for mental health issues? So it's not, this isn't applied, this isn't something that someone is telling someone else to do. Like if you take on what's being shared as information, then that will probably lead to dissociation and suppression, which would be a total misinterpretation of what's being shared. It's not prescribed to someone to make anyone's life better. It's not saying that if you fall away, life will be better without you. It's not saying that, although that will be heard by some. It's saying that what's seeming to happen is a contraction of energy, which can seem to lead to dissatisfaction. And simply, as an exposure seems to happen, some can seem to resonate with that. So, to answer the next question below, it's a response. It comes as a response, a joyful one. I mean, it is seemingly enjoyable to talk about and to share this sort of openness of what is. It doesn't land for everyone, because what tends to happen more often is that someone wants to get some kind of teaching or advice out of this, and it doesn't offer advice or teaching. It's simply illuminating that the one looking for a teaching is that experience of looking for something better. But whether that resonates or not, it's all sort of whole and free to be that. Again, we'll almost certainly not feel that way for that energy, but when there's an openness, there just can seem to be some kind of a yes, like this is it, yeah, this is freedom. It's already freedom. It's not freedom for me, it's not freedom in the future, it's already freedom. If you want to go, it's fine, honestly. You sure? How does infinity feel like? Infinity is not a feeling, it's not anything. But what can be said is the body apparently just seems to be more relaxed. At least that's apparently what's happening. What did the Indian sage mean by the phrase, I am that? Yes. So, not sure, but it could be that it's, there'll be loads of interpretations as to what that 3-word pithy statement means. It could be the contracted energy is boundless energy, so the contracted energy feeling like me is actually wholeness appearing as a me, an illusion, sort of, the beloved, the divine, boundlessness or unconditional freedom appearing as an individual, as an apparent individual. There'll be loads of different interpretations as to what that means. Could mean anything. In what sense is this absolute freedom? It's freedom because it's everything. It's all-encompassing, totally everything. It's boundless. It's without limitation. So sometimes called unconditional freedom. unconditional freedom, so it's not conditioned, it's not limited, it's not finite. It appears to be conditioned, limited and finite, but that's an appearance. It's just everything, which is no thing at all. So there's nothing being everything. And all the time it seems like there's someone. That doesn't seem to be the case. It doesn't seem to be like this is unconditionally free. Because all me seems to know is conditional things and separation. Call it tight. Has no qualities really. I mean, it appears as whatever it is, but it's not tight. Or I mean, tightness. The word tight sort of implies tense or something, or sort of limited. It's not. It's the opposite. It's totally boundless and free. So although there isn't a you to know this revelation in a subject-object way, is it nevertheless known in some way, shape or form? So it's not about knowing, it's the end of knowing. It's the end of a sense of a position of a knower. So once sensation was apparently known, it's not known anymore, it's just a mystery. The brain apparently seems to know words and concepts and all that, so as to apparently talk about this, but it has actually nothing to do with knowing, which again is incomprehensible and doesn't really make any sense. But that's the way it seems to be. It's beyond knowing, because that sort of contracted energy lives in a subject-object world. It seems to depend on knowing this, knowing that, and so surely, in order for this to be useful, I have to know it somehow. I have to get to know what this is about, and that's just, it seems to continuously get tangled up in concepts and ideas, trying to figure out what this is about. And beyond all of that, it's just total immediate. It's immediate because it's not distanced. It's just what is. It's just this, so alive, so free. Yeah, so the brain seems to, there seems to be memories and ideas and thoughts, the appearance of language and all that. Even though this will never be figured out or comprehended or known or grasped, what seems to be happening is beyond all of that. It's energy. It's energy. Sitting around and waiting for that energy to become more known or tangible is another process, but really this energy is beyond conditionality. It's radiant. It's so radiant, vibrant. Can you just explain with regards to if someone punched you in the arm that you would feel it but I wouldn't? Yeah, so the idea that there's an I and a you and a me is all part of the story of separation, which seems to arise out of that what's already been described multiple times, the contracted energy. But there's just what is. So there's no one any longer feeling sensation, there's just sensation. So there's a sensation, and then there's a perhaps a thought about sensation. So if these two bodies are in the same room, apparent room, this maybe feels a sensation, but it's not someone having a sensation, it's just sensation. And then there's perhaps someone saying, I'm having a sensation. But all the time there's this separate experience, all of that feels very real, very sort of separate and substantial. It isn't. The idea that there's a distance is part of the story of separation. It can't be comprehended. Comprehension is a limitation that boundless freedom takes on. Would you say that there is no self or separation in existence? Or that there is no self or separation through? Yeah, so there's just the appearance of some kind of feeling of me looking through the eyes, the ears, the nose, and the mouth, and the body. Even looking like at thoughts, you know, it's a separation experience. And that's a dream. It's a dream of a separate reality. Once that collapses, everything is so boundless and free, there's no longer separation. It's totally whole. Totally whole. Totally whole. It's like a child hurting itself. The reaction is based upon the reaction of the adults or friends. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, son. All the time it seems like there's this separate energy. It feels like there's a consistency, and everything is like routinely and patterned, structured, ordered. Because time seems to be real, and therefore everything seems to be in a linear path through time. When this whole sort of thing is just obvious, it's like everything is just somehow free falling and free flow. So yeah, essentially what's being shared is, without teaching, advice, instruction or prescription, however, it's simply an exposure that this is wholeness, that wholeness is all-encompassing. Wholeness being everything is this as well. And this is an appearance that wholeness is apparently taking on, but it's not absolutely real and it's not absolutely unreal. It's just appearing to be what is. And it's everything. It's everything. All thoughts, ideas and memories, all sensations, perceptions, all feelings, everything that seems to be is what is. Everything that seems to be is wholeness. Although it may not feel, apparently, whatever my idea of wholeness is, it will not always correlate and resonate with that. But this is a wholeness that's basically boundless, beyond limitation, beyond conditionality. So it's not my wholeness, it's just wholeness. And to that extent, this is what's longed for. The separate individual is not really recognizing that because it's often or always just too busy looking somewhere else for what is already. It's on a journey looking somewhere else. But really what it longs for, more than anything else, is what is already, because it's beyond time and space. It's just what is. And somehow or other, through an exposure of the isness, it's just that sort of seeking energy can seem to sort of dissolve, to die away, and then all of this irritation and agitation can fall away with it. But that is not a process, and it's not something that someone can choose to do or not, because being wholeness is without agenda. It's not becoming wholeness, it's not becoming better. So when there's an openness or a resonance, that is seemingly felt, and then there's just the end of the separation experience, which was transient. It was porous and insubstantial and illusory. So this is what you're looking for, what everyone is in the world looking for and longing for, more than anything else, is this utter simplicity and spontaneity and immediacy of what is already.